morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to take a look at the Tortoise. The Tortoise is a frustrating tank. It's been a frustrating tank for many years because because the gun is so good on the tank. That is the only good thing about the tank. I've always called for this tank to get a buff, to get an armor buff, because the armor was just too weak on this tank. Now, what you're looking at here is the update 8.6 version, so the old version, and it has been buffed, which I'm pleased about. I am very pleased that the tank has finally received an armor buff. Not only that, it has received more DPM. The accuracy has taken a little hit, but it's not too bad. So if you're looking directly at a Tortoise, you can see it used to be on the side around about 220 millimeters of armor, and the middle of the turret is 171. Now, this update, it has been buffed, so the middle is now 200, just over 200, and the cheeks is around 250 to 60 millimeters. So that is a nice buff. The 271 there on the bottom plate as well, so it is a nice buff. It's a welcome buff. Has it changed anything with the tank? Yes and no. Yes and no. People are going to struggle to penetrate it. If you're using the gun arc and the sort of the 10 degrees of gun depression, you can get that to over 300 millimeters of armor. And of course the hatch is, I mean, most people will go for the hatch, but light tanks, tier 8s, etc., they will struggle. And of course the bottom plate, if you're angling, can get up to almost 300 millimeters as well. So it is a welcome buff. It is a welcome buff, but has it changed the tank at all? Now we're going to have a look at a few battles just to see if the armor profile helps, or the armor buff has helped the tank. So we had a few games earlier, and we're just going to have a look at, where are they? So there is one, I think this was it. Pretty much, you can get bounces. You can get bounces on the tank. It's not invincible. It's not invincible. I mean, you can get penetrated, and I always said, like, this tank needs either a hatch buff or the hatch removed, or the sides. It doesn't need it both. It doesn't need it both, just one of them. If it has the hatch buff, like to get really strong, then you can go hold down and you can just use that gun depression and you can have an amazing few battles. If you don't want to buff the hatch, then at least buff the sides so you can hide the hatch. You can sort of get around a corner like we are sort of behind a rock, sort of here. If you look at the rock in front, if you are, one second, so if you're in this kind of position with that rock in front, sort of closer to the rock, you can use your gun arc sort of to the right, and you'll be hiding that hatch. And because you're also angled, then it will become a lot more redder. So they did a good job. I do admit they have done a good job, but I do think it needs just a little bit more. It does need a little bit more armor profile wise, because now people, especially in tier 8, they will struggle to pen you, and you will get bounces from them. But the only problem is, people are now just going to switch to premium ammo, and if they switch to the premium ammo, you're going to get penned all day long. And that's the thing, like, I don't mind that in a way, because at least they're doing less damage. Now, before, any tier 8 tank used to just be able to smash the hatch like mega easy. They used to just be able to hit that hatch. If you're in a hold down position, or if you're sort of behind a rock, that hatch sticks out from a mile away. But if you're angling like this, you can see that IS-6 literally just shot our hatch, and we still managed to penetrate it. So you can get bounces. You're not going to get too many bounces if you're pretty much in tier 10, but if you can angle, like you do have to angle quite a lot, but the best thing about the Tortoise is it does have good gun arc. It has great gun arc, but it is still a slow tank. It does still struggle. It takes the time. It takes your time to get into battle. But so yeah, I don't think I don't. It's a difficult one, because the armor profile has helped. The armor buff has helped, but now you're going to get more and more people just firing on the premium ammo, and you will be able to get penned quite easily. If they switch to Pramo, you're going to get penned. Now, this is a tier 8 game, and what I just want to do is just fast forward it a little bit, and this is where I'm talking about angling, and you do have to angle. If you angle, even against tier 10 tanks, you will be able to get the occasional bounce, but you can't really rely on the bounces. You can't really rely on the armor, especially in a tier 10 matchup. You're going to see here, we're not getting shot just yet, but every time we're on a reload, or every time they're looking at us, you can always see that we're trying to angle. And yes, fair enough, they did hit the strongest part of the tank, but you can see it can get bounces. But yet the IS-7 is just now going to bully us, and he will bully us. So yeah, it's a nice buff and it's a welcome buff, but I just don't think it was enough. I want it to be more, because I want to love this tank. I really want to love this tank because the gun is absolutely a god gun. It really is an amazing gun, and I would enjoy playing the tank. I would enjoy playing the tank if it had armor. And I've called for many years for the whole line to get armor, because when I first started the game, this tank was all about, or this line, sorry, was all about armor profile. And they are massive tanks, and they're known to be really, really well armored, but none of them really are. I mean, you have the tier 5, which is it's got quite a lot of armor, and it's really, really troll, especially in those lower tiers. People don't know how to deal with them, but when you start getting up the tiers, especially with the AT-15 and the Tortoise, etc., Wargaming seem to just be bothered. Instead of giving them the armor profile that they need, they've just sort of upped their DPM. They've just like, you know what, they do need a buff, but we're not going to touch the armor, we're going to just up the DPM. And yeah, DPM's nice and all that, but if you can't bounce anything, and if you're a slow ass tank that can't really get around the map, and if tanks get behind you, you're screwed. It didn't need the armor, it didn't need the buff, it didn't need the DPM buff, this tank. All it needed was an armor buff. And like I said, I'm not asking for Wargaming to buff the hatch and buff the front plate like they did. Just one of them would have done. Just even make the hatch really, really, really strong, that like the E3 kind of hatch, or remove it full stop, or leave the hatch as it is, leave it really weak like it was, and buff the front plate. Like, I'm not asking for both, just one of them would do. But yeah, it's at the minute, because of the way it is, it's basically a DPM war. It's basically a DPM war, and you have that DPM. You have almost 4,000 DPM, so you will pretty much out DPM most tanks that come your way. So this game, I mean, we've easily picked up 3.6k damage. We haven't bounced pretty much anything. We've bounced one shot, and that's pretty much game over now. We're just going to clear this T57. Don't forget about the HE as well. The HE pen is pretty decent on this tank. If you can get the side of tanks or the rear of tanks, do use that HE, because it will pump up your DPM even more. So just this Object 84 left to go. And regarding the Object 84, I don't know if I have to apologize or not, but I don't like the tank. I don't think it's fantastic. Yes, you can bounce shots on it, but yeah, I got so much hate for that video just because I don't think it's an amazing tank. I got so much hate for that. And bear in mind, when I make my reviews, you have to remember, I don't base my reviews for the 60%, 70% players. I try and, as best as I can, to base my views on a 48 to 50% player, the average kind of player. And I honestly think the average kind of player will struggle in the Object 84, and they will definitely struggle in the Tortoise if they don't know how to angle properly, because at the moment, with the buff that it's got, that is the only way that you're going to get bounces. If you're looking directly at a tank, you're still going to be a little bit red, especially for the tier 8 tanks, but as soon as they switch to the premium ammunition, they will be able to penetrate you. So you really do have to angle your tank to get the bounces. And pretty much it's all about, this tank is now, instead of being all about armor, which it's supposed to be, the whole line is basically, or most rest of the line is now basically based on DPM, because the AT15 is well over 4,000 DPM. This is, or just over 4,000 DPM, sorry. This is about around 4,000 DPM. And yeah, I want it to get armor. I want it to get armor. If it had armor, it would be an amazing tank, and it would even with it being slow, it would be a fun tank to play. But well done Wargaming for the buff, finally buffing the Tortoise, but I just feel it needs a little bit more. It does need a little bit more. Whether we're going to get a little bit more, I doubt it, but that is, in my personal opinion, what this tank needs. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the new Tortoise. Has the armor profile changed for you? Are you bouncing more shots? I am definitely bouncing more shots in the tank, and I've come up against it, especially in a tier 8, and I'm thinking, wow, that's red. I have to even switch to premium ammo to hit the hatch, and so that's good. That is good, but you need a little bit more, so at least it can do that in sort of tier 10 and even tier 9. But yeah, as I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you like the tank, or do you think it needs a little bit more of that armor buff? Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Meadsy, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye bye.